rocking the show with us. So we're popping off. We're getting it rolling. CWL Nola is coming up this weekend. We have plenty of stuff to talk about today regarding that, obviously. We're going to go through the pools, our predictions, our thoughts on how we think these rosters are going to match up against each other according to these pools, and we should have a good discussion.
Yeah, and then I think the big thing is Sunday night, maybe even earlier, we're going to know all our Stage 1 teams, right? So
Right.
I know people are very excited about the Pro League get started. Obviously, you're going to have matches each week. Hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, this is what these guys play for. You want to be in that Pro League. You want a chance to, compete for $700,000. This is the best of the best. So last year at Dallas, we got lucky. We got to see, the Gosu crew versus EG. That match was a fun watch. I'm hoping. I mean, we'll take a look at the pro points. There's those bubble teams, man, they're close. They're a lot closer, I think, than people think. In really every region except for APAC. So that'll be a great discussion tonight because we'll see, man. Do some of these guys have what it takes to get to that open bracket and put the pressure on?
For sure. Going to be very, very exciting. And once we get into these pools, we saw the draw happen very recently last week, and some crazy ones got lined up for us. So we're going to go through each of our predictions. We're waiting for some people. That's why we're rambling a little bit for some more people to roll in the chat because we're a little bit late today. It's completely my fault. OBS having some issues. I'm on a different setup. I'm just trying to get everything figured out, and I'm flustered. But we're fine. So I think as people start rolling in, we can start getting into these pools. If you want to check out last week's episode, we touched on some of the roster changes that went down recently because all these teams are trying to get in a spot to, number one, make Pro League, number two, do well in Pro League, and number three, well, win, right? So you can cover that on all the previous episodes on both of our YouTube channels. Check that out if you missed the other ones. So let's get into these pools, Joe. I'm going to throw this graphic up on the screen that we have on our doc as well, and we'll go through each pool, A, B, C, and D, give thoughts on our top two predictions to make it out, and thoughts on each team as well.
All right. So Pool A, you obviously have TK, our winner. They return. They're still winning. They've won the past couple of 2Ks, so obviously, they should be the favorites to win this event. I mean, it's tough to go against them. Of course, the argument's always there. Like, Optic has the experience. Splice could have beaten them. I mean, there's all these things that could have potentially happened, but right now they're the best team in the world. Then you have FaZe, and FaZe is a dangerous team. I think people should watch out for FaZe. If they get rolling, we saw what can happen. We saw it at Dallas, Unilad. Unilad, I feel like they didn't have the strongest performance really at Dallas, not what they wanted. I think they still finished like top 12. I gotta make sure I'm right on that. But and then you have Mindfreak, who they went on a bit of a run Sunday. I mean, really, they're the reason why. And I think this is a huge storyline, Teep. I don't know about you, but they're honestly the reason why that EG is in such a crappy place right now. Like, if they don't get reverse swept, then things are different. I mean, EG could potentially go on a Sunday run, and instead they lose Game 5 to Mindfreak. Mindfreak finishes 9-12. Sorry, Unilad finished 13-16. So this is I don't think a stacked pool like Pool D, but there are some very solid rosters, top to bottom in this pool.
Yeah, one thing we need to speak on, obviously, is TK going for the repeat tournament here. Back-to-back wins. Obviously, the meta change going to be interesting to see how these teams are going to be able to play on LAN once again. Some people have been talking about, is TK going to be as good without the FG42 being so prevalent? We talked about in previous episodes on how the FG players had such high KDs compared to normal in terms of like the top KDs for the tournament at Dallas. How all that stuff that is going to translate over to this event is going to be very interesting to watch. Speaking on this pool, though, you're completely right. Mindfreak getting that reverse sweep at Dallas over EG completely, I don't want to say took EG out of contention, but it kind of did. They're in a very rough spot now. Who knows if EG is going to be able to make it through an open bracket when it's so tough nowadays. And it seems like whenever it comes down to a clutch situation for EG to clutch up and do what they need to do, it just hasn't seemed to be happening for them. So that's where an open bracket, a last map situation can get very, very scary. going to be exciting to watch. Now, my thoughts on Pool A. I think it's clear cut that TK and FaZe are I'm gonna say it, way ahead of 3 and 4 in this pool. Unilad, didn't have the greatest or I guess worst of tournaments at Dallas, but right around that sort of average level that we expected them to be at. And then Mindfreak haven't really shown too much. I mean, they did have a good Dallas, better than I thought they were going to do. But do I think they're going to do it in this pool? I think they're going to be probably around that same spot, stuck at that 4th or 5th slot.
Yeah, and the thing with Mindfreak to me is, right, they've never had like a great start to a tournament. It's just always like, oh, they went 1 and 3, they went 0 and 4 in pools. Like, at least give me a 2 and 2, maybe have a 3 and 1. I don't think this is the pool where they're gonna do it, but I think that completely changes things. It always just feels like they're fighting against the losers bracket, and the losers bracket is just so difficult. So, I mean, if you look at their losers run, they won 3 games in a row. They beat Sinister, they reverse swept EG, and then they beat Epsilon. And I think those are some quality wins. We can touch on Epsilon a bit later, but they've shown that they can win and beat some of the top teams, but it just always seems like it is what it is with Mindfreak. Like, all right, they're going to lose their pool play matches. Yep. They're going to go to losers round 1 or round 2. If they get a solid bracket, they make a bit of a run, but it's never like, all right, if Mindfreak win this game, they have a potential to start in winners round 1. Like, we haven't seen that yet.
Right. Exactly. Whenever they're put up to the test of the higher competition at the tournament, they just don't make it. And it's been like that for tournament after tournament after tournament. And I want for them to do better and to win one of those crazy, crazy matchups. But they just, for so long now, you can't predict it. You just really can't.
Yeah, and then, lad, it's like this is a team you want to do well and you want to see them get better, but just not quite sure. They're not even winning in Europe yet. I know it's online, but I mean that results say something. So they're not even winning in Europe yet. That's a bit scary to me. Red Reserve and Splice, Red Reserve with Swanee are still reigning supreme over there. Vitality obviously winning a couple, but you don't even have online results to point to. So yeah, I definitely agree with Pool A. I think it's pretty clear cut that TK and FaZe should get out of this. But the thing is you do have the top seeded open bracket team coming into Pool A, so that could make things very interesting. And this could potentially be one of those pools. I mean, if you're an open bracket team, you want to be in Pool A or B. You would probably think that they can beat Unilad and Mindfreak or Vitality and Epsilon, and it comes down to that match versus either FaZe or Envy. So if you're an open bracket team, you definitely want to get into one of these first 2 pools.
Yep, for sure. Definitely if you want a chance to make it out in a solid spot, even if you don't make it out top 2, getting in that 3rd slot just gets you so much further forward in the loser bracket for a solid setup for replacing. But chat, you can go ahead and give us your prediction on Pool A. Joe and I just think it's clear cut. We think you guys should think it's clear cut too, but feel free to give us your opinions on the top 2 teams that you think are going to make it out. Depending on which open bracket team makes it in too, there could be upsets with I don't know, maybe TK's having an off tournament, they're overconfident off of a win. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. TK seems like one of the more well-prepared teams, and that's quite obvious with them being so good at several search and destroy maps. I don't think their preparation with TK or FaZe will falter at all, because the players on both of these teams are, they have good minds on each team, is what I'm saying.
And I think before we move on, I'm just excited to see how teams adapt with vetoes, because especially TK, you saw how successful they were on Ardennes Forest. Like, the vetoes, it's kind of that time now where it's like, all right, we have to take away their best maps. Like, let's play a Gibraltar, let's play St. Marie in London Docks. So I'm excited to see how those evolve. I think FaZe will be a very big test for TK and really where they are. So, but yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how those evolve over the weekend.
Yeah, it's a very good point too. It's going to turn into a situation where you see these crazy stats from TK on Arden
Mhm.
Forest, for example, at Dallas. It's like our team's going to try and challenge them on that again. It's sort of like an ego play when it comes to vetoes, or are they going to play it safe, make sure they get rid of Forest? But then that forces either these other teams to play something like Gibraltar that TK had seemed to have no problem playing throughout Dallas
Yeah.
as well. So the strategy of vetoes, it's a good point, and it will come through, especially in this pool with these guys versus TK.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll ask, who do you think's gonna take first, TK or FaZe?
TK and then FaZe second.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think TK is just too comfortable right now. I think they're just feeling very confident in themselves. FaZe, I think it'll be like a game five, but TK have clutched basically every game five thrown at their way so far. I think at Dallas, I think on Reddit today, like they had 4 or 5 and they won every single one. So
Right.
I think TK is just too comfortable right now, but we'll see. I think that match versus FaZe will be really, really, really strong.
Yeah, it should be a close one. I think that's
Hmm.
something where, FaZe seems like a team where they focus on, 2, 3, and 5 sort of game type. So if it goes the
Hmm.
distance, FaZe could be one of those teams that clutches up. FaZe's CTF looked just it looked
Right.
so much more consistent than a lot of teams that I've been able to watch. So going to be a good pool for sure. Let's move on to Pool B now. Every single time, I swear, it's an Optic and Envy. They get matched up in pool some way, somehow, right?
Yeah, and Vitality and Epsilon, that's two that were in the same exact pool last time. I
That's
think that
true.
was
Yeah.
actually like a game five. So, a very interesting pool. I think this is probably the weakest of the pools from top to bottom. Um, and it sucks because you used to get so excited for Optic and Envy. Like,
Yeah.
even I did. Like,
Right.
now I just don't anymore, to be honest with you. Just to be upfront with how strong Envy was last year. Like, all right, it was super exciting, but from what I've seen, I just know Optic's gonna beat them. Like, I haven't seen that Envy yet to say otherwise. Vitality and Epsilon. I don't think we've seen the best Epsilon yet. I think they'll perform better than what they did at Dallas. I
Right.
think they still have a ton of talent on that team. But I don't think either of those teams are close to Envy or Optic. So yeah, I think this is another clear cut one. I think Optic and Envy are top two. Well, I guess that open bracket team, like, if you're EG, this is the pool you want to get into. If the stars align, this is where you want to land. You can beat Vitality and Epsilon. Envy's probably the weakest two seed in here. Um, this is where I want to fall if I'm an open team.
Oh, 100%. You definitely have the biggest opening. And for all these bubble teams that need to make up a crap ton of pro points in order to make Pro League, this is the one where you can very easily make those gains. The one thing I'm very interested in seeing is how much is Envy going to improve? It's
Hmm.
been about like I don't know what, like a month and a half for them
Yeah.
to have that time to prepare. Hook's going to have more times to really get back into his groove when it comes to Call of Duty. Can Slasher keep playing at the crazy top potential that he's been able to play at even going back to IW? A lot of question marks with Envy, and then speaking on Optic too, they've haven't had the best practice lately. A lot of issues with them. Scum's internet's been sort of all over the place. Obviously, not great performances being taken out by Rise in the previous 2K, and then Allegiance in the most recent one. So Optic not in the best spot in terms of online play so far. But again, it's Optic, right? What you expect them to get
Yeah.
to land and be perfectly fine.
And they're always a team, right? Like, the one worry I have, if you're an Optic fan, this is the one worry you have. They get an easy pool. They get to winners round one. They play. They're in pool B, so they'll play D2, winners round one of that bracket,
Right.
and that is where, if Optic has faulted before, that's where it happens. So, in winners round one, you have A1 versus C2, you have B1 versus D2. That's probably going to be Optic, and Pool D is stacked. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
But if you're an Optic fan, that's where you falter. You want Optic to be challenged early on. Hopefully, Envy can give them that match. Hopefully, an open bracket team like EG, who has star power on it, or Lightning Pen is, whoever it is, can push them to their limits a little bit, because Optic's a team that once they get rolling, they're very hard to stop. But winners round one is typically where they falter. They have a comfortable Friday, Saturday. They play their one open bracket match, and then you get into that bracket.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, I have extra insight of how things at Optic and things we've been working on, things like that. Chat, I apologize. I know a lot of you want all the juicy intel.
I do too.
I'm
I'm
good.
like, come on, baby, give it to me.
After the show, Joe. After the show, I'll fill you in. But
All right.
speaking on just this pool again, if you're an open bracket team, you're going to be making it out. This is the one where you're going to have the most chance to make up, basically guarantee yourself a good placing through this pool. If you're able to, maybe upset Envy, maybe steal one of those winner bracket open winners round run matches through pools, definitely the one you want to go for here. But if you had to pick two off of this right now, what would you go for?
Yeah, I'd go Optic 1, Envy 2. I mean,
Yeah,
it's tough because like there is an upset possibility of Envy. I still don't think we've seen the best Envy. It kind of worries me. It should worry the Envy camp. Like even online, they haven't had their best performances. It just seems like they haven't gelled like you kind of thought they were coming into this game. Again, this is the roster that they all wanted to put together. But yeah, I mean, I think Optic Envy 1 and 2.
yeah.
I think Optic cruises.
Do you think there's any way an open bracket team, maybe we could take one from one of our notable open bracket teams list? Do you think if one of these bubble teams makes it into this pool, do you think there's a chance that they take down like Envy for the second spot, for example, or do you think it's going to be straightforward?
I think so. Like why? If Ghost goes on a run, I think it has to have a team with experience.
Yeah,
I could see Lightning Pandas. I mean, Doom beat them in the 2K. So I think Doom, Lightning Pandas, Ghost, EG, like those are teams who, if they have some star power, if they can get going, if they can force a game 5 versus Envy, why not, man? I mean,
right.
It's again like that's the one team who you kind of look at in that second like seed of the pool, and you're thinking this team could lose to an open team. Like I want to be in this pool
for sure. Just from my personal perspective, scrolling through, I think Envy's going to be fine. I think this is straightforward. Once again, Optic 1, Envy 2. Chat, feel free to put your opinions in the chat as well, but this should just be the same sort of thing we saw in Dallas.
You think Optic Envy? You think it'll finally be like a grudge match like we're used to, or is it still is Optic winning this one comfortable?
I feel like it should be closer.
Yeah,
but I think Optic just outclasses them in almost everything. Maybe Envy can take the search or something like that, because that's been, or at least to start the tournament in Dallas, that was the weakest game type for Optic. So I could just see a fairly comfortable 3-1 for OG.
Yeah, I agree. I know. It is what it is. I mean, that's just, again, it's similar to like Unilad. Like you can even speak to Envy. Like I know online, like results to a point do matter. It shows that the teamwork and chemistry is going well, when you're playing those tough teams and winning a 3-2. So I don't know, man. I just want to see a bit more from Envy. I do think they'll get to the winners bracket. So we'll see how they perform once they get to that stage.
For sure. All right.
Now get to the juicy ones.
These pools scale up a little bit in terms of excitement, in my opinion. So now we're going to move on to Pool C. Let's throw these back up on your guys' screen so you can see exactly what teams we're talking about. But here we got Luminosity, Red Reserve, Rise Nation, and E6 plus the Open. I love it. I absolutely love it. Joe, what's your initial thoughts? Go from top to bottom in this pool.
I mean, Luminosity, they obviously win Northern Arena. They beat FaZe. They beat United there. They beat some tough competition. Online, they've been just hanging around. It seems, again, like they handle business. But we saw at Dallas, like, they're vulnerable, man. Like, they finished 7th ace. They can lose to some good teams. Red Reserve, still number 2 in Europe. I still think there's a ton of threat to this team. Like, if things go their way Friday or Saturday, whatever it was, Friday, and they beat TK on that match, that weekend is completely different for these guys potentially. Yep. It is completely different. This is a very emotional roster. When things are going well, it's going to go so well. We saw that with Zero. We've seen that with Rated. So I think this team, people should be scared to play this team. The only things to me that stand out with Red Reserve is how are Josh and Joe going to perform. It seems like That's always the question.
Yep.
It was last year. It was the year before that. If those two guys can step it up, this team's complete because you know what you're going to get out of zero unrated. Uh, Rise Nation, I would not want to play this team at all. I think
Not at all.
obviously they won a 2K. They have gotten things going. They made those roster changes. This is a very dangerous team. I mean, they have a ton of young talent and they get things going. Obviously, in the last 2K, Rise lost to Luminosity 3-1, so you sort of have that matchup. They've played against one another, but if Methods plays the way how we can play, you have the star power and Gunless, and then if TJ and Looney can step up, another team that's going to be tough to beat. It's like which two guys on a team have to step up if they want to be like that complete team. I'm still looking at TJ. I still don't know what to expect from him, and I'm looking at Looney because this is now his team. Like this is his time to step up. So I'm really excited to see how they play because this is obviously a very tough pool. And then E6, man, this is a very tough pool for them to land in. I mean, they are the 10th seed in NA, so there's a lot of pressure on them. You don't want to finish, or the 9th seed. Sorry, you don't want to finish dead last. You have to try to get a win or two under your belt, but they pick up Doug, they have Dashy, they have General, they have Blastful. There's a ton of young talent there, but is 10 days or 12 days, however long it's been, is that enough time for them to put it together and beat a team like Rise, beat a team like Luminosity? It's so difficult. E6 needs to get to be in a solid spot and not really have their sort of spot up for grabs. They need to finish around top 12.
Yeah.
So if you're an E6 fan, you want them. I believe if you finish 5th in your pool, you're top 24. If you're 4th in your pool, you are top 20 at that point. If you're an E6 fan and you want Doug to do well and get to the Pro League, you want him to finish around that 3rd spot in this pool. And I just don't know if he can do it, man. This is a stacked, from top to bottom. There's just too many tough teams.
Doug was lurking in the chat last week, and he was, of course, confident as always. That's Doug Sensor Martin for you. But getting thrown into a pool like this, Doug was saying he wasn't going to drop a match in pools.
He will.
Are they looking at this pool? I have the thought: are they going to win a match? This is really tough. Yeah. All three of these teams, from top to bottom, are very, very good and experienced teams. Red Reserve is trying to fight back after they feel like they kind of got robbed in pool play at Dallas, and I don't really blame them for that. They realistically should have taken that series versus TK in pools. Who knows how that would have transcended, like you said before. And then Rise is on the rise right now. They made the roster change. I was unsure of what they were going to be able to do online, with a short time to prepare, to be honest. I wasn't sure how Methods was going to be able to translate his slang over, but he's been doing just as better than ever. Gunless seems to be doing a lot better than he was on Echo Fox on this Rise roster. So it's a scary pool to be in. And this is a roster change purely for pro points. Would this be a roster if they weren't trying to finesse their way into pool play? Probably not. And in history, there's been times where people make these sort of changes just so they get the favorable seed or whatever it may be, and then the team ends up flopping and everyone ends up going their separate ways. So I don't know if the reasoning for the roster change is really in the right spot. I don't know if they're going to have enough time to be able to figure things out. If Doug is going to be able to transition well into this team, it's going to be a difficult ride for him. If I had to pick two teams to make it out, I think I'm putting a lot of stock in Rise. I think they are the real deal. I'm going to piss off some EU people in the chat, and I apologize for it, but I think I'm going LG 1, Rise 2. Chat, give your opinions, and Joe, give yours.
I like what you said about Rise, right? Like Methods. This is the thing. Sometimes what happens is a player is playing extremely well, like Methods was on Next Threat. He needs to stay at that level on Rise. Like he needs to be able to do the things he was doing with Next Threat on Rise. Like, yeah, I understand there might be some adjustments to a new playstyle, but the reason they picked you up was for consistent slaying. That is what Rise has struggled in from time and time and time again. We looked at Felony, we looked at Faceno. Aqua was the only one doing it. Looney at times stepped up, but not all the time. So gunless and methods literally just need to slay people out. Like if they can put numbers on the board, Looney and TJ will get things done. In terms of top two, I think Luminosity just handle teams. Like they just know how to
Yeah,
play. I know Octane has been talking. He seems very confident right now. I saw his tweets. He just loves playing COD right now. So I think things are flowing for them well. I think Northern Arena was a sort of a it was like a good bounce back for them. It was like, oh god,
totally.
we've had this seventh, eighth, like crap. Like what is going on? But then when they're able to go to Northern Arena, they beat United a couple of times. That sort of gives their confidence back.
Right.
So I think Luminosity goes out number one. Number two is interesting. I don't think E6 gets in that mix.
No, me neither.
Red or Rise. I mean, it comes down to that matchup for me. Shoot. I think I'm going to stick with Red.
Okay.
I I believe in this roster. Like I like Rise a lot, and I can easily see them getting second. But in terms of predictions, I'm going to go LG1 and Red 2.
Okay.
Just because I think that Red's good enough to do it, and Rise is still sort of a newer roster. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rise gets in, or like they even take a number one seed.
For sure. I just feel like Rise just has the talent potential to maybe even take some close hard points versus LG. They have that outslay potential now, which is so damn scary sometimes. So I completely see what you're saying. When it comes down to the finesse of the game, I feel like the overall like better teamwork, I'd probably give that to Red from what I've seen anyway. But when it comes to just brute forcing your way to a W in a close hard point where you have to drop a 40 bomb, you probably take Methods right now. The guy's been a monster. That's my thought process.
And then I mean it's tough. I think it comes down to Red or Rise. So, and I think too. So what we saw at Dallas was C and D were sort of even more stacked pools because that's where like FaZe and FaZe and Echo Fox landed because they were such high seeds. I'm looking like at our notables like if it goes the way it should, like Doom, Lightning, Pandas gets in, like maybe you have an Infuse sneaks in somewhere, like Ghost or EG could land in this pool C.
Yeah.
And that's scary for E6, man, because that is then you're talking the potential of them getting last and having to start at that top 24 losers bracket run, and that is not what they want. And again, if you're EG or Ghost, that's who you have to catch. That would be great for them to land here and beat that team that they have to catch their seed.
For sure. For sure. The pro point implications to where these open bracket teams get seeded into these pools and then each placing in the pool, this is – qualification for Pro League last year was absolutely insane. We talked about it on last week's show where it came down to a bracket match versus it was EG versus TGC in the loser bracket to make pool or make Pro League, which is insane. We definitely have a situation where that could happen again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll stick with Red Reserve. I want a big event out of Josh if he plays well. I know Rated's in the chat. He's talking some poop. He's like, "Hey, we 3-0'd Rise last time." But it is a different roster.
So
it is a different roster. They have I think more talent from top to bottom. But I mean, I just think that Red Reserve will persevere through this. I mean, they've just had a lot of obstacles. They're due for one, man. They're
a great team. They're an absolutely great team. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do take second. But I got to pick one.
Yep. All right. Pool D.
Oh God.
The fun one.
This is just so damn juicy.
Yeah.
Poor Splice.
So,
sheesh.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the thing, right? It's like wherever Splice goes, that's obviously going to be a very tough pool because they're the number one team in Europe. Then you have E United, so you have Splice E United again. Echo Fox, that is a very interesting roster. Don't know what to expect yet with that roster change. And then Ground Zero. And I think a lot of the reason that a lot of people call Pool D sort of that pool of death is because of Ground Zero. And I want to get your thoughts. Do you think this team is gonna play as well as people think they are?
Oh man, it's tough to say. If I'm talking about like talent-wise, I don't think so.
I
don't think so. Just talk about the roster change for just a second. What did Fellow and Naga really stand out on their previous teams?
I mean, that Felony
Not
got dropped, right? So
right,
there's nothing.
right,
Uh,
and then Nagafen
Nagafin's the
split from.
one person you could probably point at and say he was an improvement from Blastful and Pharaoh, potentially. Again, these guys
Do
went
you
with the
though?
experience.
Did Nagafen impress you on Next Threat? Is my question.
Hmm. I mean, yes, compared to what he was playing at in the
Okay.
past couple of years. Like, I think when Methods wasn't playing too well, like Nagafin was the number 2 guy.
Yeah.
So I think he did impress me more than previously. But I just don't know if this roster has what it takes to play against the Giants in this pool.
I completely agree. And
Yeah.
it's just weird. Like, Fellow was that guy for a period of a couple months. Granted, it was in some of the previous games, but going back to Black Ops 3 and even sometimes in IW, where he would just step up and just slay on a map. And I feel like I haven't seen that. I haven't been able to watch. Wasn't able to watch a lot of their gameplay. Don't get me wrong. There might have been respawns where he took over, but I feel like it's just not happening as often. And versus against like top competition, and that's what scares me. Like what happened to Slayer Fellow, where he's able to just basically take over. And if he's not able to do that, I don't think they have enough slaying power. I completely agree.
Yeah, and like what we saw with Grunzier in the past is if Parasite wasn't playing at his best level, like these guys don't succeed.
Yeah.
Like so there's a lot of pressure on him and I mean, we talked about it last week with that meta change, like the power is sort of in the submachine guns right now.
Right.
We'll see if he uses that carbine. I'm really interested to see. Because there's obviously a lot of different people have different opinions on it, but he's the one guy that said, I want this gun. I'm playing with it. So we'll see if he pulls that out. I have no idea. But that's sort of the one thing. He could completely take over a game at times.
Yeah.
But the other three I just feel are too inconsistent. Like all of them. Like Felony you already talked about. Nagafin the same thing. Like he's been better this year than years in the past.
Yeah.
But this year he's also had a weaker roster than sort of rosters in the past. So he's going to stand out a bit more. The kills are going to be on the map for him. And then you have Study, and you just don't know what to expect out of Study. He had some great games at Dallas that sort of carried them in like Game 5 S&D where he stepped up, did Study things, but it's just a very tough pool. Like you said, I don't think these guys can beat any of these teams.
It's just like the potential of it is pretty crazy because you have pretty streaky players in Fellow and Study that can they have those maps every once in a while where they just win it because they're just so damn good. But that period of time doesn't stay for long, right? So it's like they could get into one of these pool play matches and one of them have stringing together 2 or 3 of those maps and take a series away from one of these teams. It's definitely possible. But for prediction's sake, it's like, is it there consistently enough from what we've seen? I have to say no.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's just too tough of a pool. And then I mean, we can move on to the next couple of teams. I mean, Echo Fox, they obviously get Aqua, so now you have Saints, Vicento, Assault, Aqua. There should be no reason this team doesn't compete in every single respawn. Yeah. And then you have Aqua and Vicento, who were they were a core team of so many great search and destroy teams, whether you talk about TR, you talk about, Rise at Champs last year, like these were those 2 guys, or, 2 of them who could put things together and win games 2 and 5. So this team has a lot of threat to them, man. I mean, Aqua now running like a sub at times, that secondary AR, he can be one of the best players in the world. Saints, we saw last year, can be one of the best players in the world. Assault we've just been waiting for him to erupt onto the scene like we thought he was when he was on that Cloud9 roster. And then Vicento, I mean, if Vicento plays well, this team's going to be, for anybody, is going to be very tough to beat. And if you're Echo Fox, you're finally set it, because I feel like top to bottom, you finally have a roster that could potentially be one of the world's best teams in Call of Duty.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like, I don't want to say pressure, but it's just really important that Vicento gets around a 1.0 KD. He cannot be going massively negative. You know what you're going to get out of these other three players, in my opinion. I don't want to say that the other three players have sort of like a kill Hori sort of style, but in history they kind of do, like sort of slower, bait their teammates a little bit more. So, just looking at the roster from top to bottom, Vicento might be caught in these situations where he's always the one having to go in first. He's always the one having to, be selfless. I hope that he individually can have a good event, and if he does, these guys could definitely take respawns off of like E United, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have E United and Splice, and these two are just hungry for a championship, man. Like, Splice was in the finals. They want to get back. I hope that they don't get too cocky on Friday. Like, I think that could potentially happen where Splice is like so focused on winning a tournament and winning the championship where they sort of overlook this pool. I don't think they will because everybody's calling it the pool of death. They're the best team in Europe for a reason. Like, obviously online it's very tough to say because Jerd has a ton of internet problems. I know he is a completely different player on LAN.
Yeah.
And then E United, man, like, this is a team who they've made some changes, they've adjusted. But, you saw Clay talk about it. I saw Clay talk about it today. It just feels like they haven't put together a great 5-game series versus a top team. Like, they didn't – I don't know what it is. It just feels like they're falling short in S&D. Then they fix S&D. Then it's Hardpoint.
Yeah.
And then they split Hardpoints, but they lose to CTF. It just feels like as soon as one thing gets better, another thing starts lacking.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always that – you just think that if United gets into a position to win the tournament, they have the potential to do it.
Yeah, when it comes down to the wire, I just feel like, with United's a very smart team, is my point.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes down to making the right play at the right time and clutching up, I have a lot of trust in them.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they might just get bullied by like Echo Fox's new roster. You start off on a hard point, you just get massively outslayed. They don't know, what to do to make up for it, and I could see, if this match happens early on, I'm talking like Echo Fox versus E United.
Yeah. You stole my prediction, actually.
It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think if I'm gonna pick top two, I think I'm gonna go Splice Echo Fox.
I was going the same route.
So I think Echo Fox gets through. So I was debating in my head Splice or United.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
does that mean you have Echo Fox at 1?
That's
where
I don't think so. Okay. Yeah, I think they drop one series to Splice or United. Like a game 5, like they go the distance, but that sort of experience of the other two teams sort of gets in there. But I think Splice or United, I think one of these guys is going to have a bad Friday.
Yeah.
I just think it's bound to happen. And I don't think it's going to be Splice because they've been in these tough pools before, the past couple events. Well, so has the United. But, I mean, they could have a slow Friday too. I don't know, man. It's tough to say, but I think Echo Fox is going to cause some upsets. So I'm going to go Splice Echo Fox.
This could lead to a situation where we're just gassing Echo Fox too much, but I like the roster. I like Aqua being back with Vicento. I think that's going to do really well for them. I don't know why. I just have a feeling, and I feel like Splice is just the real deal. I think we were shown that at Dallas how legit and how unprepared some of the NA teams were for Splice. So I think they're going to be just fine once they get into a rhythm. Their first pool play match might seem a little bit weak. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but once they get into full throttle, Splice they're tough, man. They're really tough to beat. So
yeah, but like you said, like they have a slow first match. That can happen in this pool. Like there could be a 2-1 tiebreaker or a 3-1 tiebreaker, and Splice gets screwed, or E United gets screwed, or even Echo Fox potentially. But it happened at last event. It happens. When you have this many good teams, they're just gonna beat one another. You just if I'm the only thing I'm thinking, if I'm a Splice fan, your team can get to the final, but you're hoping your players aren't taking it like 2 steps ahead to where they're already thinking about winners round 1.
That's true.
Because you just expect to be there again. Like everybody's human. Like you expect to run in here. You're gonna play your best, and I don't know, man. Like the thing with Splice is though, to me, like They should have beat Optic the first time they played them. Like they beat them the second time, but they
It's
should have
true.
done it the first. That game 5 where
Yeah.
Bance gets
On
that
St.
kill
Marie.
in that bomb site on
Yep.
Krim, and it's completely different. They play TK in the winners bracket final.
Yeah.
So, dude, this is such a tough pool. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Splice and Echo Fox. Please don't hurt me, United fans. I love you.
Yeah. I had the same thoughts. Just when I'm talking about it, I just feel more confident in it for some reason. I feel like Echo Fox is just gonna be, have their things put together, and yeah, I'm going with it too. Chat, what are your guys' thoughts? Who's coming out 1 and 2 in this pool, and then whoever comes in through open, prayers. Good luck. Wow, what a pool.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't think any of the teams that would make it out of open have a chance.
Yeah, and this is the pool, right? Like this and C. If something crazy is gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Like I can see even E United and Echo Fox getting out, like both the North American teams. Like,
yeah,
it's not gonna be it's as clean as people think. Like it's just not. These teams are too good. Again, you could be right. We could be gassing Echo Fox. We haven't seen much of them yet, but
we rarely gas people though. Just throwing that out there. When these roster changes go down, most of the time we're like, we'll give it to like the, I don't know, more consistent, the veteran roster. I don't know, for some reason, I think this Echo Fox lineup, I like it.
Yeah, I do too. In the recent 2K, they lost to TK, which is acceptable. It's a new roster. You're losing a team that is just on fire right now. But at United, it just seems like problems kind of keep sipping through. And we'll see. I hope they turn it around. I want them to do well, but this could be the one I think they falter a little bit. So we shall see. All right. What is next on the agenda? Open bracket?
Notable open bracket teams. We could talk about
all right.
All these different bubble teams and
okay,
how we think they're going to do. Who's eventually going to make Pro League off of this? It's going to be a tough call, but we can try. We can try our best.
So we have Doom. That's the number 1 seed in NA. I personally I don't think this roster's getting out.
Really?
Nope, I don't think so.
Really?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think so.
What's your what's your pet peeve with the roster? Why do you think that?
I just don't. I don't have enough. This is this is it for them, right? Like you have to make this run. There's gonna be pressure in the open bracket, and I think it's gonna falter them. I don't know if I trust the experience of Decimate and Pharaoh yet. Even like Ricky at times can underperform. And then what? You have Bevels join the team as well. Like you have 3 rookies, just not in the most tense spot possible.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna lose like a ridiculous game 3 in like the open bracket or the best of 5 to get out.
You think they're just gonna choke hard?
I do. I don't know why. I liked it. Like actually, I don't really like this roster. Was just kind of, so obviously Blastful leaves, and I think they just lose a lot of like who are going to be the stars on this? What, Decimate and Pharaoh? Like from what we saw, like
no,
I mean, those guys got it. That's the talent. Like we don't know enough about these guys, and I don't know, man. The one thing is they are the highest seed in North America, so they will get like a top 3 seed, but things never go as well as planned. They never do. I think if there's going to be an upset in the open bracket, it's going to be these guys.
I mean, somehow, some way, Next Threat made their way through the open bracket. So who's going to be the sort of Cinderella story coming into this one? We could see it again. It could be straightforward in the open. Who knows? I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
I'm bringing up the Pro Point leaderboard right here. You can see the top 15 Pro Points right here. And look how damn close E6, Ground Zero, and Doom are. A couple of 100 points. It's actually insane.
It will come down to where they place.
I feel like two of these 3 teams are going to be put into the losers bracket, I think Doom will make it to pool play. I think they're just going to do okay. I think they're going to go down to losers, and it's going to end up a matchup where it's going to be Doom versus E6 or Doom versus Ground Zero for
It'll
pro,
happen.
for
It's going to
pro
happen.
league, for pro league.
Yeah.
And in that matchup, I have no idea who I would take. So okay, let's go through it then.
Yeah.
Since I made that whole
Okay.
spiel, let's do each matchup, for example. So let's say the stars align and we get the loser bracket matchup of E6 versus Ground Zero, for example. Who wins?
That's like the tough one. I think I take both of them over Doom.
Okay. I was gonna
But
go
when
matchup matchup
Okay.
by matchup.
Okay.
So if you had to pick one
sheesh.
team to win that series, E6 versus GZ.
Oh, Doug's gonna do it, dude. He's gonna do it.
I think if it comes down to a
I think
loser
there's
bracket match,
the talent.
I think Doug does it, bro. I don't know why.
I think they beat him, bro. I like Dashy. I like Dashy. If General plays at the level we know General can, I don't. I think Enigma 6 honestly just has the slaying power.
Yeah, I agree.
The one thing I'll say is Study was in this situation with EG last year, right? Like he
That's
knows
true.
like that matchup. That matchup is going to be intense, man.
Yeah,
Like
if it ends up
super
happening.
intense.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think Doug's going to do it.
Okay, so we're both taking E6. Chat, let us know who you think if in this hypothetical matchup for, Pro League in the loser bracket, for example. Okay, so then let's spread it out again. Let's say we get E6 versus Doom. You don't have high hopes for Doom, so you'd obviously take E6 again, right?
Yep. E6.
I think I'd have to do the same. I think E6 takes both of those. And then let's say we get a Ground Zero versus Doom.
I think this one's closer than E6 versus Doom. Like you have a ton of storylines here. You have Ricky playing, against Nagafin. You have Blastful, right? Or not Blastful. You have Pharaoh playing Study in Parasite. I think I still go at Ground Zero just due to experience.
I think it's the boring answer, but I think it's the correct one. It's got to be.
Yeah, I'm pumped about Pharaoh and Blastful.
Yeah.
I love these up and coming stars. Decimate, Bevels. I'm pumped that they made the transition. I think it's exciting. I think they're stars on the rise. If you don't see them in Pro League this year, you'll probably see them in it next year. I just think they're on their way up. But I think the experience seeps through here. I think you see Felony step up. I think Study. This is when he gets loud. I'm gonna go with Ground Zero.
I agree because you have players on Ground Zero that have won many tournaments, right?
Yep.
Well, I guess in Haggy, but I agree. I think I think more highly of Doom than I think you do.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to these hypothetical matchups, I think I still give it to E6 and Ground Zero respectively. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to give Doom more props, but I don't know enough about them. I haven't seen enough of them.
That's fair.
I want them to do well again. I was speaking to the up and comers and their transition. I want them to do well, but I just don't yet. It's almost like the TGC last year. I want them to do well, and they're the new talent, and you can see all those guys have sort of gone up, but it's tough to say.
Definitely is. And then just speaking on below Doom, then you guys in the stream can see the jump from pro points is pretty dramatic. It goes from 34K up to 42,343 is Doom, Ricky's team. So that's a lot of points to make up. I need to go and look at what the difference is depending on which tier of placing that you get and how much pro points you're awarded.
I can bring
for
it
that.
up.
Yeah, bring that up real quick as I continue to ramble. But it's going to be difficult for those teams to make up that amount of pro points. I'm talking about on your screen right here. Lightning Pandas, Ghost Gaming, Evil Geniuses, GGEA Orange.
See that?
That's a lot.
Yeah,
of points.
there's a big jump, right? So, I mean, 20th through 24th, which is the worst that champ bracket team you get is 2750.
Yeah.
Once you get through 9 through 12, you make 5,500.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
that 8,000 points, it disappears. If you're an EG fan, if you're a Lightning Pandas fan, and a gaming fan, realistically, you have to finish. If I'm being like comfortably, if they get like top 8, I think they make it.
Yeah.
But if they want to put pressure on those other teams, and it's very real, they have to finish 9 through 12 because again, like Ground Zero, E6, like they're in tough pools, man. Like
Yeah.
they finish 0-4 or 1-3. They have to win a few losers brackets. But if those guys, if they get to top 12, maybe even top 16, I know we're doing a bunch of calculations this week.
Yeah.
That'll be all prepared for broadcast during New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like you want them to be probably safe around top 16, top 12, probably super safe. But the pressure will be on. Like they're not. I don't think they're going to do well in pools. I think the odds are against them, and then it comes down to those loser bracket games, man. So it's definitely a big jump. I mean, 7th, 8th is 7,000 pro points. So
yeah,
that's 28,000. That's like close to what they almost already have.
right.
So
basically, one of these bubble teams is going to have to clutch the F up and win a huge game to try and get top 8 to try and make enough gains to, and then hope everything falls in line appropriately when it comes to the math, the calculations. Of course, all that stuff will be done on the CWL broadcast going into Nola. You guys will be all filled in on all that stuff once the tournament's underway. Now, let's move over to the EU side. So the cutoff for the NA side for Pro League spots is the top 10. We go over to EU now, and you can see that cutoff is right at the bottom there with Epsilon. So you can see the pro points are pretty damn close. If you had to pick one that might be able to cause some upsets, make some waves, and overtake Epsilon in pro points, for example, which team would you pick?
I think Infuse or Millennium. I'm going to go with the experience here. I feel like Infuse are a team that they're making some runs in 2Ks, right? Like one thing that really hurt EG and like Ghost is these past couple of 2Ks, they just have not performed well.
Yeah.
Like they could be in a lot better position. Like
Definitely.
EG, they lose to I forget who it was, but like they got like top 32. Like that you can't do that when you need
That's
these
way
points.
too low. Yeah.
Like it's way too low. Yeah, they lost to GGE Blue. Like you can't lose that game 5. So Infuse is a team who put together a couple great 2Ks. Giants before Dallas, I think they have, maybe even after. I haven't paid too much attention, but Millennium, that's a team. If they get going, they can make a run. Again, Epsilon is the one thing about Epsilon Vitality is they're in each other's pools.
Yeah,
so what's nice
true.
is if they get like 3rd place in the pool, they're probably pretty safe. They're obviously in a better position than what some teams could be in. So that's a huge matchup right there between Vitality and Epsilon. But yeah, I'll go Infuse or Millennium if they were to make a run for that 5th seed. I hope they do. That'd be awesome.
It's pretty crazy too. Like, just hypothetical, since we're doing that a lot through this show. What if Unilad just has a horrible pool, gets instant knocked out, and they get top 24? That opens the door. You know,
Right.
The jump's not that big. It's 6K pro points from Infused to Unilad. Like, who knows what could happen, right? If Infused is somehow able to make their way in, get a 9 through 12, for example.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pro points and a lot of gains. So it's more exciting in this EU side of it because the bubble teams are a lot closer in comparison on the NA side. And then just wrapping up on the APAC side, well, Mindfreak has a lot of more points than everyone else. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think SYF's attending. I believe Taboo is, Tainted Minds is, and I think there's one more who's in attendance. So these guys, they're fine. I mean, they win a match or two, unless like Taboo get like top 4. Like like they're fine.
They're fine.
They've just they did what they had to do, and it is what it is. But those other 2 regions, there's a ton of possibilities. I guess the one thing I'll ask you is like, besides Doom, like the rest of the guys are about 8,000, 9,000 away.
Yeah.
Which between Lightning Pandas, Ghost Gaming, EG, and GG Orange, like which of those 4 do you think can put the pressure on? Like which of those 4 could potentially place a top 8 and qualify in?
Okay. That's tough. So basically, here's my thought process and just the logical steps that need to be taken to put pressure on. Which teams have traditionally made it through Open and made it to pools? Allegiance made pools last event.
Yep.
Ghost was in pools already and didn't do well.
Yep.
So will they make it to pools is the question. Lightning
Yep.
Pandas didn't make it to pools, got knocked and losers by Next Threat, if I remember correctly, at Dallas.
Yeah, they
right?
lost. They lost to Nice Threat both times.
Right. And then Doom's in a pretty comfortable spot. I feel like they are going to make pools. So out of those 4 teams, you talk about the previous Allegiance lineup. They made pools. That you got to expect them to do it again, right?
Mm.
And in terms of putting on pressure, their pro points are at 31,925. They still have so much to make up. That's my issue.
Yeah, it's 11,000 points. So
Even
again,
if you
like
make it to pools,
one of these teams has to get like 7th, 8th, like
Yeah.
9th, 12th. It'll come down to the wire, but like 7th, 8th is sort of the goal for these guys. Like you just have to. Yeah, it's
so
tough.
You have to, in order to make that a possibility, a realistic possibility, you have to come in the pool. You have to get probably like, what would you say? At least third. At least
yeah, I mean,
third.
Third's top 16, so they would have to win 2 matches.
So then, what I'm going to do then, let's take the GGEA Orange team because they made it out of pools at Dallas and whatever, right? So let's bring the pools back up. It depends where they get slotted, right? Depending on what their seed is in open bracket, things like that. So slot them into each pool, and how do you think it's going to go? You put them into Pool A. Okay, maybe you can get a 3rd place there. That's cool, right? Would you agree with that, or do you think they'd get 4th or 5th?
Yeah, I think they'd probably get 4th or 5th, to be honest. Like every time Allegiance or GG Orange they've gotten there, that they just haven't put it together. A lot of people have said they're a great team, but yeah.
But okay, it's a possibility. Maybe a 3rd. Maybe into Pool B. I'd give them a better chance of getting 3rd in that one. Pool C, nope, sorry. Pool D, nope, sorry.
Yeah.
So it all depends on where these potential open bracket into pool teams get slotted, and if it's a Pool A or B, maybe you do get a 3rd place, and then you go down.
But they're going to be such a high seed, man. Like if you think the teams that are going to get out, like they're gonna be in C or D. It's just what it is.
Yeah,
like
you're right.
It's just what it is. So it's very tough. It's the same thing with Ghost and EG. Like as high as they are, like they need help. Like they need a lot of help. I don't know. The one thing I'm going to say is if I had to pick one of those 4 teams, I'd probably go with EG. I know they've had troubles, but it just comes down to star power to me. If you have to get a top 8 placing, which of those rosters do you think has the star power to get to top 8? And the only one on the list to me is EG. I want to give a lot of props to Lightning Pandas.
Yeah.
But I just haven't seen enough from them. Like I like this roster a lot, but I haven't seen enough. Ghost do well online, not well on land. GGE Orange, they just every time they get to pools, they don't play well enough. So if there's one team to me, it would have to be EG.
So we haven't seen Doom in pools. Obviously, it's a new roster. We saw Ghost do horribly in pools. We saw EG do, I would say, okay in pools. Not great though. Not ideal. And we saw GGA Orange do pretty poorly in pools. So we have recent knowledge of all these teams and how they performed at Dallas in pools. We don't have that for Lightning Pandas. I feel like that is a team that if they do end up making it through open into pools, maybe they can do well against some of the pro teams. Maybe, maybe not. But that's the only team we don't have like recent knowledge in a pool play scenario, right? So that'd be interesting to see, and it's a good lineup as well.
It is a great lineup, and I know they've put some decent like 2K placings in, but again, just not the results that you sort of want.
Yeah.
Especially, and they lost 3-1 to FaZe for top 16 last 2K. So it's tough. I just think, again, when it comes down to star power, like if Apathy wakes up Sunday and just deletes everybody, then it can happen.
Yeah.
It can just happen.
Totally. So your pick is EG to be able to do it. I think I'm going with the Pandas purely because we haven't seen them in a pool play scenario. Chat, if you had to pick a bubble team, whether it's I will throw Doom on there too. If it's Doom's the easy one because they're so close in pro points. But if you had to pick between Doom, Pandas, Ghost, EG, and GGEA Orange, who's your team to clutch up and possibly take one of those 9 and 10
I'm just
slots?
picturing too, like, dude, Sunday morning, like, EG gets in a place that they want, and they have to play like Infuse or Millennium, and they like lose to that team, and
Yeah.
then that team qualifies for Pro League. Like,
Oh
dude,
my
there's
gosh.
gonna be some weird stuff that happens, man.
Dude, I feel like it's going to.
A lot of
Some
people want
weird stuff
EG,
always
man.
happens. Yeah.
Ghost, there's some Ghost believers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of Ghost,
Cool.
a little bit of Pandas.
I like to see it.
Yeah.
All right. So that basically wraps up. I know there's more open
Mhm.
bracket teams past that point, but that was, you know, otherwise we'd have a 2 hour long conversation on all these teams. So let's move on. We can cover. We did sort of a pro point update right there, but we can talk about the recent 2K that just happened and touch on
Yeah.
what happened there. I'm gonna throw up the bracket right there. Joe, did you see anything extremely surprising or that shocked you?
I mean, Optic losing, but top 16. I mean, it happens. It happens online. Um, TK, I think just winning again, man. Like, I know we've been saying it over and over again, but it's tough to do, and
Yeah, it is.
they're very comfortable right now. I think Rise getting top four once again is a great showing from them. Envy losing, that's scary. It, FaZe and E United typically have close games. Again, E United always seems to be like having these game fives, and they did with TK. But TK LG, I think that 3-1 over LG is a very strong showing. Um, but if you're a TK fan, you're happy because they're sticking with it. If you're an LG fan, you're happy because they're still in that top four range of NA. I think just the most surprising thing would have to be Optic losing.
For sure. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely the one that does stick out. I don't
Hmm.
think GGEA Orange is a team that should be able to take out a team like that, but they're able to do it. And GGEA Orange actually pretty much stomped out Optic on a hard point. It's like hard to put too much weight onto it because of all Optic's internet issues lately.
Hmm.
It's just tough to say. I think Optic's going to come to land and be just fine. The biggest
Yeah,
thing
they're
though
pissed
is
off.
yeah, exactly. It creates a situation where it's a frustrating scenario, but I think they're gonna come out with that absolute fire. Then Rise handles business pretty much. I'm surprised that
Mhm.
Rise versus E6 series was going to a map
Game
5.
five.
That's pretty surprising to me. That shows that E6 is able, to take some maps off of them. That's pretty cool to see. Again,
But well, like the one thing that we've touched on with E6 in the past is they are a strong online team. Like last year, it was the same thing. They got to land. They had some okay, placings. But the reason that E6 was always in the picture was because of their online performance. So yeah, I mean that's a great game. But you would even like to see them get like a top 8. That's when they've
yeah,
typically done really well online.
very very true. Looking at Doom, they went to a last map versus Bound. I'm not sure who that team is. They win another 3-2 versus Envy, so that's a nice win for Doom.
Yep.
And then they took a map off of LG. LG pretty much handles business through their way to the final, beating GGA Blue, taking down Doom, handling Rise 3-1, and then end up losing. So pretty straightforward 2K for the most part. Besides Optic losing
Yeah.
at that round, we would have had the same sort of matchups. E United take a close one over FaZe, clutching up, and then yeah, pretty straightforward stuff.
I guess the one thing is if you're a Ghost fan, I mean, going game 5 with the United. I mean, what Ghost got like T4 like the last 2K. So I mean, hopefully they continue to do well. I mean, but just not too sure because obviously Dallas didn't do well at all. Yes, Dashy, you're not an onliner. I said E6 in general have had better performances online, not including the E6 with you on it, but even in looking at last year and the years before that, they've
Well,
always been a solid
Dashi had
team
like a
online.
1.2 something on land, so
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. I totally get it. But yeah, I'm very excited for this weekend, man. There is a ton of I mean, there's a ton of everything at stake. So it's weird that we're at this point now, and we talked about it last year, where there's like we can see 5 or 6 teams potentially winning the event,
yeah,
and it's weird when I'm not saying that Optic Gaming is like the clear cut favorite.
right.
It's just it's very weird because it was like that for such a long time.
So before we get to our Q&A,
Hmm.
I want both of us to pick a top 4 for the whole
All
event.
right,
Do
I
you want me to
think
start or do you want you to start?
You could start.
Okay.
I'm interested to see what you say. You can give a top four. You don't have to give like this team's gonna win because I think within the top, any of those guys can
Okay,
win.
I'm picking
But
the
that's up
top.
to you if you do want to do that.
Are we? I'm picking the top four. Just like
All
top
right.
four teams. You can
In
pick
no
the
order.
order. No order.
Okay. All right.
Optic, TK, Splice, and LG.
Hmm. I mean, the only team that I think may like I agree with you. I think Optic again. The only way Optic slips up is when around one, just because of their pool. I think LG handles business.
Yeah.
TK, I just think they're on fire. The only way I see like TK like having struggles, and we saw it at Dallas. Like if Theory doesn't play well, they still win.
Yeah.
Like so if Theory steps up, that team's going to be even tougher to play. But that's sort of that one weakness. We'll see how Accuracy and Chino deal with no FGs, but I think they'll be fine. Their teamwork is top notch. I'm excited to see vetoes against them. But yeah, I think I'm going to go Optic, TK, Splice, and then the fourth team is a tricky one. I think you can go. I think I'm gonna say LG just because they're gonna be back to themselves. They're gonna have a
Okay.
great event, but I can see like a FaZe slipping in there,
Okay.
or if an Echo Fox goes on a great run, and then you still have United in that mix. So, dude, there's like 7 to 8 teams.
It's
That's
scary,
real.
man.
It's very scary to call.
I would feel comfortable putting FaZe in my top four. I would feel
Or
comfortable.
Rise.
I would feel comfortable
Yeah.
putting Rise in my top four. I'd feel comfortable
Yeah.
putting Echo Fox in my top four. That's why it's so difficult. Like, they're just going to be fantastic matches in the champ winner bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go LG. I think this is just gonna be because it's still early on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Optic. LG. I think LG's gonna have a better event than Dallas. TK, they're just on fire, and Splice.
Okay.
I think Splice just wants to be back in that mix. So
Okay. I like that.
that was
Dude.
tough.
This event's going to be absolutely awesome, and we're going
Yeah.
back to New Orleans. I love New Orleans.
It's first time here, so I'm ready. I'm gonna go to dinner here soon.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
do a quick Q&A because I got people.
Okay.
My squadron is waiting on me.
Quick Q&A. Joe needs to go get food. I need to eat dinner too. It's like I don't even know what time it is. It's
Yeah,
like
I have it.
8 or
I
something,
went straight
so.
to work to here, so the venue's looking great. I'm pumped up.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, let's answer a few questions.
Quick Q&A, and then we can go grab food. Once again, guys, appreciate you guys hanging out in the stream. Please hit that follow button if you're enjoying Hardpoints. You can check it out on both of our YouTubes after this is done. We'll get that uploaded probably either tonight or tomorrow, whatever it may be. Ask your questions in the chat right now.
All right. Willie K says, based on the new meta, which team do you think will benefit the most, and which team do you think will benefit the least at this event?
Ooh.
I like that.
Ooh.
You thinking over there?
I'm thinking. What do you got? Talk so
I think it helps FaZe a lot. I don't want to say the most. I just think speed and pressure helps them a good amount. I think it helps Optic a good amount. Based off of who it hurts, you would have to say DK, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no FG in the picture. Luminosity, I don't think it. I think Luminosity is like the one team you could say it's neutral for.
I say neutral for Splice, neutral for LG, bad for TK, great for Optic. Who was the first team you said?
FaZe.
Great for FaZe. I would say probably FaZe is probably one of the best one. I feel like.
I think it hurts Envy as well. I think when you want the best gun in Slasher's hands.
That's true. Yeah. I would agree with that. I think it hurts Envy. What about United?
That's a tough one, right?
That is a tough one. I think I want to lean more neutral on that.
I think
it's neutral. I think neutral. I don't know what you think.
I don't know. Because they were obviously playing at a very aggressive pace
Yeah.
coming into Dallas. Like you saw Clay running a third sub a lot. Yeah, I'm pretty neutral on them. I'm not quite sure yet. Quite sure yet. I know they've been making a lot of adjustments, just trying to figure that out. So we'll see. But I'll go in neutral.
Okay. That's a good question. I like that.
Yeah. All right. Let's do one more.
Yeah, one more question. Sorry, short session, guys. We're both sort of
Yeah.
on the clock right now, so
Um.
scrolling.
Yeah, I think it also benefits EG. I think that's another one. I think you want
Yeah.
Pat more aggressive.
I think that yeah, definitely does.
Um. Let's see.
Hmm. I don't want to be mean, but I don't see something that really sticks out to me yet.
Who has all right? Wizard asks who has the most to lose this event. I mean, that's a pretty good question.
The most to lose? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Uh,
Most to lose.
I think Ground Zero and Enigma Six, right? Like
Yeah,
those are your
obviously.
bubble teams. I think every time Optic doesn't win, it pisses off their fan base, right? So I always
Yeah.
think when they don't win, they lose a lot. Um, do you think like a TK loss hurts them?
Depends where they place.
Mm.
Depends where they place. If they let's say TK gets like a third or fourth. That's still I think they're fine, right?
Yeah, I think anything outside of
It,
top four, you'd be a bit
but yeah,
disappointed
if
in.
they get like 7-8, then you're like, oh shoot,
Here,
then people are start saying, oh, TK needed FGs or all that crap is gonna start, right? Totally hypothetical.
so yeah, here's the thing with TK. You want them to have stellar performances and to even win another event because you don't want them to split up. I mean, you like this team a lot so far, but the problem is people have I like Tyler's talked about it, I've talked about it. Kenny is an up and coming star, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And if they struggle, people are going to talk to Kenny. And there are a lot of teams who would take Kenny right now. It's fact. Like there is a ton of potential of that kid. So that's going to be the thing. As soon as they start losing, like Kenny has felt what it's like to win, and Chino has felt what it's like to win.
Yeah.
They want to be on winning rosters. So I think that's the one scary thing if you're a TK fan. You want to see continued success and even win again.
For sure. So yeah, we have obviously E6 and Ground Zero that literally have their pro league spot to lose, and then we've talked a little bit about Optic.
I mean, even
and
Epsilon,
TK.
yeah.
Epsilon has their slot to lose, and then for me, it goes down. Like let's talk about these lower bubble teams. Let's say I don't know, Ghost and EG. Let's say they have another bad event. Are these rosters you blow them up?
Yeah, they're blown up for
They're
sure.
blown up.
I mean,
so they have their literal rosters to lose if they don't have a good event and clutch up and make some waves. So those are two teams that I'm looking at where you thought they would do a lot better. They started off in pools at Dallas. They had a really crappy event. They have a lot to lose.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good question.
All right. Whew. I'm excited, man. This is going to be a great weekend.
I love it.
There's so many
Good
good
discussion.
matchups, like just right off the bat on that Friday. I mean, and typically when we've seen sort of the tournament hit a lull is Saturday, where the open bracket teams come in, but you're not going to see that this time because the open bracket teams have just so much to play for. There's so many storylines coming into it.
Right.
I can't wait, man.
Completely agree with you, dude. It's going to be a great time. I can't wait to see you. I'll probably see you tomorrow, Joe.
Yeah, baby. Oh, you get here tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow night,
Yeah.
most likely.
Let's get it. We will go out on town.
Oh, I'm real down. Alrighty. Chat.
All right, stream.
Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for hanging out. As always, guys, we'll try and do one of these, obviously, after NOLA. Make sure you check out CBL New Orleans this weekend. You can watch it on Twitch and MLG and all that fun stuff as per usual. Hope you guys enjoy the event. Joe will be giving you guys his fantastic analysis, as always. The best analyst that is on the CWL lineup. I'm a huge fan of him, and
Thanks, Tyler.
I can't wait to check out the stream. I personally will be trying to coach the Optic Gaming team to victory.
To victory.
To victory.
All right.
So yeah, that's what we'll be
guys.
doing this weekend. Thanks for chilling. Hit that follow button. Exclamation sub, exclamation prime if you want to support the channel a little bit more. And we'll see you guys after Nola for another Hardpoints show. Appreciate you chilling. Gonna run a quick ad break and find someone to host. Tell me who to host in the chat. We'll see you next time. Enjoy Nola. Ad break, awkward ad break time.
All right, Tyler, I'm going to head out, dude.